Aguirre, The Wrath of God, Nosferatu, Vampire, Fitzcarraldo, Burning of Dreams, Little Peter Needs to Fly, Grizzly Man, Encounters with the World, Page of Forgotten Dreams, Into the Abyss. He's done many, many films in both the fiction and documentary realms. Please welcome our special guest, Mr. Werner Herzog. So I wanted to begin by asking you, in the first scene of this film, when you are meeting Gorbachev in his office, and you present him with the chocolate, you have this look on your face, like a child about to open Christmas presents. You seem very excited. What was going through your mind in this moment?
Well, this was our last meeting. We had 2 meetings scheduled, and we did 2 conversations on camera. And then all of a sudden, he literally summoned me back, and I said, Mikhail Sergeyevich, but haven't we done our job? No, you have to come back. Apparently, he likes me, you know. I do believe that he saw a few films, his entourage somehow. But each time, in the 3 encounters, he was brought by ambulance to my cameras, and he was delivered back by ambulance back to the hospital. And in one of the conversations, you see he has a bandage on his hand. It was still his intravenous sort of injection that connected him to some sort of system. He wanted to have me back, and I had the same cameras arranged, and he said, no, I'm not going to sit there. And I said, okay, yes, what do you mean by that? How do we film? We have no other camera, but we actually had a small digital 4K camera. And he said, oh no, we'll talk in my office. When we had brought some belated birthday presents. And this encounter was filmed only with one handheld digital camera. It was less formal, and it had more joy of encountering him, more different aspects outside of the formality of a conversation on camera. And in a way, for example, when I somehow experienced he was getting tired, I wanted to tickle him, because I know he knows hundreds of poems by heart. And I recited a Pushkin poem to him, the beginning of a Pushkin poem. And I knew he would chime in and start and continue with it, but he said, and this is all cut out, and he said, no, I have something much better, and we switched on. And he says, I'm going to sing. Of course he didn't sing, but he recites it. The poem is by a Russian poet, Lermontov, who died aged 26 in a pistol duel, like Pushkin, who also died. They all died very young and stupidly enough in pistol duels. And Lermontov, I think, but I'm not informed enough, I think he wrote it the night before he was killed in this pistol duel. And Gorbachev recites it, and I found it so beautiful. that I had no choice but repeating it in a scroll again. And it was something that the network that had financed the film didn't like at all, and I said, it has to be in the film, this scroll has to be in the film, because we are looking into the soul of a man at some points fleetingly, but here we have a moment where we are looking into the soul of his country, Russia. And I said, it has to be in it. If you don't put this into the end scroll, the entire poem, repeat it again, I will buy your station and I will fire you.
So it's dated.
Kind of
In previous interviews, you said that you wanted to approach this as a conversation, an informed conversation. Do you read his biography, or?
Sure, yes, I did my homework. He has a very fine biography, and there's a very, very good biography by William Taubman, Gorbachev. A very, very intense and deep ploughing biography, but I also had conversations with Stephen Cohen, a great scholar and in the 80s a journalist who spent a lot of time in Moscow, and he knew Gorbachev very well and became friends with Gorbachev. And I read Stephen Cohen's writing on Gorbachev, and I had conversations with Stephen Cohen before I ever met Gorbachev. And he said to me, for example, be careful, don't address the question of his wife Raisa. Do it only when you are warmed up from, so to speak, from man to man. When you have the feeling you can pose a question about his wife, because he's still so deeply hurt by her untimely death. And at one point in the second conversation, I had the feeling, this is a moment I should speak about it. And I spoke about my own wife, and I said, I have been so lucky. And then we cut in, and he says, no, I have not been lucky. I was searching for her, and I found her. And that's where you look into his soul and the solitude and the tragedy of the man. By the way, I have to point out, and I do it whenever I'm in public, some of the finest footage when he's speaking to his old blind aunt, and when he's back in his empty house, was filmed by Vitaly Mansky, a wonderful filmmaker, and I owe him a lot that he allowed me to use this. And this, what Vitaly Mansky contributed to the film, is filmmaking at its best.
Were there any other?
I will let him know that he.
Now, were there any other ways that the conversation, the flow of it, took you by surprise, either in a thrilling way where you felt, oh, I didn't think we were going to talk about this, and now we are? Or just did he surprise you in what he was willing to discuss and how?
Yes, he did, because he was not giving me, let's say, political communiques, the kind of dead things that you can read in communiques. But there was something much deeper right away with him. However, there were certain limitations. I do remember that I wanted to discuss Japan 1603 with him, but and it was about giving up firearms. And he, being hit by a completely unknown idea for him, wouldn't pick it up, and he would go back into just claiming nuclear weapons have to be abolished. We have to reduce them at least. And Japan is an interesting case because we have a very well-documented huge battle where one side was very well documented, 180,000 samurai, 1/3, 60,000 had firearms. And after that battle, samurai, without any formal sort of convention or so, without any formal ballot or so, decided to give up firearms. 10 years later, in 1603, there was another battle which is smaller, but also fairly well documented. And there were only 26 firearms left, instead of 60,000 10 years ago. And this is very remarkable, and firearms came back big time. And my question was, if we had a situation in Japan abandoning firearms, and if we had a situation, Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev, at least deleting some of the most dangerous systems, what is the intrinsic quality, strange intrinsic quality that we can't get rid of them? Every single human being on this planet does not want them and would like to get rid of them, and we can't. What is the intrinsic quality? Maybe it's the weapons itself that have a quality that we have unleashed, that we cannot control as communities anymore. So, and in this case, some sort Venetian blinds would rattle down. You have to see he's 87, he was 87 when I did the conversations. He's 88 by now, and not completely flexible in doing wild sort of discourse, but about ideas that are foreign to him.
Yeah, that was